For those who haven't met me, I'm Marty. I'm behind the keyboard a lot of the time when you're wanting to pause your memberships and things like that. But tonight we're going to try and get through this pretty quick, because I'm sure some of you want to get over to Windsor for your performance sessions. So we'll get cracking. Now, one of the main reasons we wanted you here tonight is to talk you through how this handbook is meant to work, so you can actually tailor your training around what your training goals are, whether that's to handstand, tumble, compete, or just to get fitter, stronger, whatever it may be, and how to structure your training week that will be most advantageous to you for that. Now, we're going to run through a few things. We'll try and move relatively quick. But the main thing within this document, you can all read this yourselves at a later date, our visions and what we hope to deliver for you. But the main thing within this is to try and get your head around how our program is structured. We put a lot of months into actually trying to figure out exactly how we can cater for everyone, because obviously within gymnastics or gymnastics-based sort of training, there's such big gaps between people's strength levels. There's such big gaps between their experience, age, all these different factors as to where you're at in terms of your ability. And so we're trying to give you guys the tools here to be able to then go, all right, this is what I need to do. These are the sessions I need to attend to be able to achieve whatever the goals are that you've got laid out for yourself. Now, on this one here, so we've broken it up into the two facilities. And so, but, a pyramid can only be as high as it is wide. And so what we're actually trying to do is get that strong foundation for you guys and sort of say, if you want to be at Windsor and at the top of that pyramid competing, you need to tick every box along the way here to be able to do it safely and to actually do it to the best of your ability. Now, what the absolute base level fundamental of any training plan is to build a strong foundation in strength. That will mean that you're far less likely to get injured, but also it'll mean you'll be able to perform a lot of the skills that we're trying to develop. All the skill in the world to do a pullover is no good if you can't do a chin-up and things like that. So we want to be making sure you've got the physical development necessary to then layer on that skill development, which is the fun stuff. I understand that. But at the same time, there's a reason why we need you guys to do this work, the grunt work, to then progress through the pyramid to higher level skill development. Now, along the side here, we've got the actual classes that will allow for you to develop those characteristics. The thought process is that you build your strength and you improve your mobility and fundamental skills. Now, this doesn't mean that everyone should aspire to go and compete. It doesn't mean that you ever have to go to Windsor. If your goals are to be flexible, highly functional, adaptable in movement, and be able to handstand and do some basic tumbling, everything we offer here is sufficient. You'll get stronger, you'll learn some ring sequence, parallel bar sequence, some stuff on the bars, basic calisthenics sort of stuff. You don't ever have to take that leap to Windsor. But if you wish to commit more time and wish to compete or wish to learn those higher level skills, you have that option as well. But I can't stress enough the importance of this tier here. And so just because you go to Windsor does not mean that you just completely negate all those fundamentals below it. Because again, we don't want people getting injured. We're not in the business of just injuring people in the process of throwing skills. And you won't really fulfill your full potential with the skill development unless you get that good underpinning within these first three tiers of the pyramid. Is everyone with me thus far? I don't think it's anything earth-shattering what I'm saying in terms of needing to do the stuff that isn't fun, but it's the stuff that actually yields results. Now, so I'll just quickly read this part. The pyramid helps illustrate the importance of appropriate and adequate physical development before engaging in the pursuit of specialized skills. A well-carved venue is purposely built to develop the strength, stability, mobility, and fundamental skills in a safe and structured manner. As members become more confident and fundamentally proficient, so that's getting those basic skills solid, there is opportunity to further develop skills at our Windsor venue. The classes at Windsor are intended to facilitate higher level skill development, sequencing, and eventually competitive gymnastics. It is important to note that improving strength and mobility should always be prioritized prioritized over skill development, no matter your existing skill level or experience. And so we have a lot of inquiries from people who are ex-gymnasts who go, yep, I've been a gymnast, I can come in and go straight to Windsor. Like from my experience, they're generally the ones who get injured because they think their mind, and myself included, is still where I was when I was a senior level gymnast. But my body is not what it used to be. And so you've got to do the development work underpinning it, even though you may still be able to do the skills that you once did. Okay. The other thing to sort of note is that, like I said, you may never wish to take that leap to Windsor. You may want to stick in the physical development part of this pyramid, and that's totally cool. When you do want to specialize in gymnastics, then we push through towards there. So what I might quickly touch on is we've also developed our, why is that not coming up on there? Give me half a moment. Yeah. Okay. So now, what we have actually developed as well is a bunch of routines for everyone to learn and develop. So the thought is that going over to Windsor, we don't necessarily have a beginner group at Windsor, we have an intermediate group. The beginner development can all occur here, which I know that's really tiny within that screen, but if you see level 1 and 2 above the line, we have routines for parallel bars, rings, floor, high bar. We've got to work on a beam one still, and there's pommel horse. And so all of these apparatus can be developed here. And the thought is that you tick off those level 1 and 2 skill development routines prior to then going to Windsor to learn those higher level skills, so that then you know where you fit into the picture. And then if we're looking at the handbook or the pyramid, that third tier for target-specific training goals, that's our goal progression class. And that's where you get the freedom to then develop those routines or focus on specific skills within those routines that you can't quite achieve yet, or might be a barrier to then progressing the whole routine. So that's where we have that space for you to come in and train and be to progress those pathways. Now, all of this is, for a lot of you, you've probably already received these documents, but it's important to understand how they all link together. And so, as I mentioned, when we feel that bottom tier is the most important, and so what we've actually done is come up with some benchmarks for strength and power benchmarks, and then also some positional benchmarks, which we'll go over in a moment. But the purpose of this part of the document is to help you decide what is the weakest link in your chain. Because like a link of chain can only be as strong as its weakest link. And so if you're trying to learn skills and develop overall as a gymnast or as an athlete, we need to figure out what that weakest link is and get better at it. And if that is your strength, then you need to work on it. Now, it's expected that all athletes attending Windsor meet and maintain most, if not all, level 1 strength standards to enhance injury resilience and skill performance. If the minimum requirements are not being met, we highly recommending attending balaclava sessions as frequently as possible, ideally 3 strength sessions per week. Now, in a moment, we'll go through how those sessions are structured up across the week. But if you see level 1, it's not a very high bar, no pun intended, to get over to then satisfy the requirements that we feel you're safe to do more skill development. So that is 1 pull-up. You know, that should be a goal for everyone. If you cannot pull up, we want at least 1. Dips 3, push-ups 3. So it's not a crazy amount of difficulty on the bar that we're putting up here. But with that said, we want you striving for virtuosity in the way you move. And so we do have those benchmarks for level 2 and level 3. All of these benchmarks are factored into our weekly strength programming, and then factored into our challenges, each weekly challenges and things like that. So you get to retest and try and move forward along that pathway, so you're getting that development. Does anyone have any questions thus far? We're still good. So yeah, like I said, I don't feel that they're crazy. We went back and forth between our group a lot to try and come up with what we thought it should be a basic requirement, and I feel that we landed quite well with that. So if you're missing any of those key movements in level 1, then our biggest recommendation is for you to attend the strength classes more frequently. Now, the positional benchmarks. Now, this is obviously, you know, hollow, arch, front support, side support, back support, and side support. Now, this is to be completed in a sequence and be able to roll from position to position without coming down at any point and be in perfect position. Now, really, the whole of gymnastics is made up of these positions and moving through these positions. So if you're not strong in them in a static sense, when you're just lying on your back on the floor, we can't be expected to do it when you're tumbling, when you're on bars, whatever it may be. So these are absolutely critical, which get ticked off in the fundamentals classes with your handstand work. We always have our core component. Similarly, 3/4 wall handstand, that's that diagonal handstand, and then full handstand away from the wall, and then a tuck sit or an L sit on parallel bars in support. So these are all really fundamental positions within gymnastics. Again, if you satisfy that level 1 requirement, your skill development is going to be so well benefited from it. Now, similarly to what we said about the strength benchmarks, it's expected that you maintain at least a level 1 standard if you plan on training at Windsor. If not, all level 1 positional standards to enhance, if the minimum requirements are not met, we highly recommend attending our fundamental session, ideally 3 sessions a week. Okay. Now, we understand not everyone has the complete freedom to train, 3 hours a day, which, gymnasts train 4 hours a day, just so you guys know, to be able to do the things they do because of all the preparation, strength, all that sort of stuff to try and do it safely and develop. So, but with that said, if we prioritize the weakest link in the chain for you guys, you're going to train a lot more efficiently for you and based off your goals. Now, the way our weekly program is now broken up is into three training blocks. So Monday and Tuesday is block 1, Wednesday and Thursday is block 2, and Friday and Saturday is block 3. Now, sorry, I just want to double check that everyone can hear online, and I haven't muted myself somehow. All right, cool. All right, so it's important that you understand how this works. Now, block 1 on a Monday, which we have, I think it's like 5:30 fundamentals, 6:30 strength. Now, that is the exact same schedule and program on the Tuesday. So if you can only train 1 hour a day, you're going to get your strength in on the Monday at, let's call it 6:30. And then you come in the next day at 6:30 and you can do your fundamentals program. And you can still get the full benefit in an athletic sense. So if you play another sport or, whatever you want to do athletically outside of here, by doing those 2 classes, you actually tick off on every fitness component, which no other training modality that I'm aware of does, because they don't tick off proprioception and balance. They don't tick off flexibility. That's all taken care of within our sessions. But just those 2 1-hour sessions in that first block. And then obviously it's the same across the week. So if you can't make a specific day, say Wednesday, come in Thursday, do both classes, and you're still getting the full program for the week. Does everyone get how that works? Yeah. If you don't, please ask later. So yeah, it's really important to try and tick those off. You can come in 2 hours on one night or 1 hour on each night, and you're all good. Now, there's the other option as well. If you really enjoy fundamentals or you really enjoy doing the tumbling and you wish to spend the whole hour on the tumbling, that's an option too. You can stay and practice the skill beyond the time before the groups switch, so that you can stick. If you're going really well, let's say on handsprings on a particular day, and you want to spend more time there, that's an option for you. If you have the time to come back the next day, you can then do the full handstand program instead of, so you can have an hour on handstand on one day and an hour on tumbling the next. Does that make sense? So like there's a lot of moving parts to this, but it's so you can piece it together and make it your own as best as you can. So if you have no interest in tumbling and you just want to do handstands, you can do that every single day if you wanted. All right, cool. Yeah. So that's within fundamentals. So just that one class. So fundamental skills. So flex and fundamentals at that level on the pyramid, where that's our fundamental class. Okay. With this one, yeah. So that means that the training plan will be the same for strength and fundamental classes on Monday and Tuesday. So, but the time slots are reversed. So if you can't make a 5:30 slot for fundamentals on Monday, you can come in at 6:30 on Tuesday. It will be the exact same plan. Similar with the strength, but reversed. Just so that it gives everyone the opportunity to get at least 1 hour of training in. And if you only train that 1 hour a day, you still get the full athletic benefit of the program, if that makes sense. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So benchmarks, cool, done. Okay, so they're the big things. Forget the team. Now, the big things. So we've also got obviously our routines, which we want for you guys to work towards, and then that obviously then feeds into heading up that pyramid higher, so that then if you do wish to compete, you've got the clear guidance, and it's easier then for you to progress. Does that make sense?
Are we looking more at this one to progress to Windsor, or the last table skills to progress?
Well, this one.
Yeah.
So these, I would say, so if we go back to the pyramid, like we want to build the strong foundation in strength first. So that's the biggest factor. So you want to try and tick all the boxes on the level 1 here. That's priority number 1. Then if you're doing that and you want to get better, then I would expect this would all be strong as well, level 1. Then we worry about the skill development in this one. So the skill is like, we'd probably put that, I would say, if you see on the 3rd tier, target specific training goals, which would be in our goal progression sessions. Even though there's still the ring bar, parallel bar, strength work, skill work in the strength sessions, you get more focus time and freedom to focus on a specific skill within that goal progression hour, if that makes sense. Is that a bit clearer? But yeah, like this is where we always come back to this pyramid, like as to what's the most important. Use the benchmarks for each, use the benchmarks for the strength benchmarks to see how you're going in that basic fundamental level. And then you use the positional benchmarks to understand where you're at for the skill development and fundamental skills. Before then, targeting specific training goals. If that is high level skill, then you refer to the routine sheets. All right. So that's the way things work in a nutshell. And I really hope that it helps guide you guys on how you structure your training week. As I said, I would recommend, if it was me and I wanted to compete, I'd be trying to get to every strength class, every fundamental class, and then maybe 2 skill classes at Windsor, as opposed to the other way around and only going to Windsor. So yeah, that's probably what I'd recommend. But everyone's going to be different depending on where their skill and where their strength levels, where their flexibility levels are. And definitely don't forget the flex classes. We're going to be working on some flex benchmarks as well, so that then if you need to be doing more flexibility work to enable you to get better at certain skills. So it's a harder thing to quantify. So we're working towards having some benchmarks in that regard too. All right. So then if you don't plan on competing, should we go? What should we go through next? Because like I want to give people the freedom to leave if they want to. Should we go through this, or should we go through this?
I think people are interested in kind of hearing it all. It won't take too long.
Okay. All right. We'll try and run through the strength stuff. The competition stuff pretty quickly.
A lot of people might want to do that peak comp because their first comp like that.
Yeah. So this year, we're going to be trying to be a lot more organised with our competitions this year. As opposed to having all of everyone register themselves and things, and then we don't know who's competing and not, and that sort of thing. We're going to register for you. So whenever a comp comes up, we'll tell you, we'll notify you, and then you will say yes or no, you're in or not. Pay your registration fee to us, and we pay the other club and register all your details for you. Now, we are going to have a number of competitions that are included in your training fees, which means that the coaches' time and travel will be paid by Peak. So if you plan on competing, do these specific comps, there will be no additional charge for having a coach there or the coach traveling there. Last year, we had 2 interstate comps when we planned for only one, and everyone's like, yeah, let's now go to the Sunshine Coast. And we're like, now we need to pay for a lot of hours of coaching and a lot of flights and a lot of accommodation that we didn't budget for. And to be honest, last year was super tough because we actually put on all these hours at Windsor because everyone asked for it. We added a second coach because people wanted it. And so it actually meant we were running at a loss even to this point because of it. And so we've got to be a bit more organised on our end to ensure that we can keep the doors open, which means you guys can keep training. We've got 4 sanctioned comps for the year, which means they're the ones that we will cover the expenses for the coaches for. That's not saying if you plan on competing, you want to go to the Sunshine Coast or compete in Tasmania, you can do that, but then it needs to be organised by your team and split to pay for the cost of a coach being there if you want to coach there. So that's that. Now, our comp schedule at this point is MAFRA Masters 1st of June. Then you get 2 months before we do Knox Masters, which isn't finalised on a date yet. We are hopeful of having a Peak Invitational, which means we will have people from other clubs come and compete, but also it'll give the opportunity to all of our guys who may not feel that confident to go and do a comp somewhere else yet, the opportunity to compete at our Windsor facility, hopefully on the 5th of October. And so competition is a great way to, encourage you to train. Like you need to prepare, and it keeps you accountable. But it's also a great experience to be a part of a team and get amongst it. And so our team's very supportive. You don't have to be an elite gymnast to do it, but I would recommend the experience. It is a lot of fun, stressful, but you learn a lot about yourself in competition. And so I recommend it if you're feeling like it. And so, like I mentioned before, with these little sequences, you could just compete the level 1 sequences that you've learned all here at Balaclava, and it's a nice, respectable routine to compete at an adult gymnastics comp because we've structured it nice and clean. It looks good. You'll look like a gymnast. So all you have to satisfy is that level 1, and we'll be happy for you to compete. Now, does anyone have any questions about competitions and how that'll be structured up if you guys plan on doing it? Okay, so we've got 10 minutes left on our free meeting, or maybe less. It's saying on here on Zoom 2 minutes. I don't know, 10, I think.
Oh, 10.
Okay, so I'll hurry up. Now, as I briefly mentioned, unfortunately, we were running at a loss last year, and because of satisfying what was requested by the members to have more coaches at Balaclava, more hours, at Windsor rather, not Balaclava, and that was obviously really, really tough for us, and it unfortunately can't continue unless we actually put up our prices. And so when we first set this up, we had 2 1-hour of coaching training per week in a shared space, which has meant that it's 5 times as expensive as what it once was. And it's meant that we haven't put the price up for the whole 18 months or 2 years since we set that price for having that opportunity to train over there. Like I said, we have two options: reduce the sessions at Windsor or increase our membership fees for this option. And so we don't feel that it's obscene to go up to $74 per week for the Peak Performance. So that's the Windsor membership. The Balaclava membership price will be staying exactly the same because that's not an added expense to what we've been doing. The Peak Performance 10 pass, so this is for Windsor only, will be going up to $325 because it's a 2-hour session. When we first started that, it was a 1-hour coach session. And so that's why the Balaclava 10-pack was transferable to there because it was commensurate. So that'll remain the same. The base 10-pack will be $250 now instead of, I think it's $225. But it just makes that weekly membership that much more appetizing. If you come to 3 hours a week, that's easily the best value. Now, we didn't take this lightly. We have held off as long as we possibly could to increase that Windsor membership. But when looking at the factors above, there wasn't really any other option if we wanted to still utilize that space because it is quite expensive. Does anyone have any negative feedback for that decision? We ran this past a small group of guys and they seem to understand it. But is anyone training at Windsor in this group? Okay, so there's a few of you. Anyone like to say anything as to how they feel about it?
This is a negative like that. I don't hate it, but I would like to. But I'd be going to go to max one session a week, not a bit more.
Yeah.
So is there a way you don't have to commit to paying $74 a week, but you can just get charged the week you do though? I know that's annoying.
No, look, there could be a way that we look at a casual rate because we don't offer it as a casual rate because we don't want randoms just turning up. And so, there may be something we can figure out in that regard, but then I'd expect that the price point that we'd likely arrive at would be more expensive than the Performance 10-pack. And so you could potentially buy a 10-pack and then utilize one every time you go sort of thing. That's probably the cheapest way I expect it will be. But we'll talk as a group and see if there's anything better we can come up with. Actually, can you write that down, Sarah? I think that's where she's going. So we'll definitely try and, this is our system. But yeah, certainly. Yeah.
It's not a price, I understand why we have to be that much, but it's the fact that everyone's lives are different, and I'm barely managing time-wise to make it to that one session a week.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility, or are we looking at all of this expanding, changing the schedule, the time that we train at Windsor, or accessibility to it, or is that the eternal battle with Gymnastics Victoria, and that's what we get?
You've unfortunately answered your own question. Because it is the high performance center, they get priority in the men's gym, and then upstairs Melbourne Gymnastics Club, because they have such a big program, they have got priority. We keep fighting for earlier slots, and we've managed to I don't know how we've managed to fight and keep Thursday early, because that was they keep trying to pump more people in there when we're in there, and we are fighting for you guys to try and have an earlier time slot. But unfortunately, it's just that there's too many people in there earlier. And I can understand that it's a massive drawback of it, but that's sort of why we'd like for you guys to utilize this space a lot more with those routine sheets that can enable you to develop your skills still here. Plenty of your skill base can be developed here. I understand we don't have uneven bars and that sort of thing, but if you're doing women's apparatus, you can do at least half of your apparatus here.
And the flip side, we are always obviously asking for it. So, and there's a lot of changes in the next few years that are going to happen with that building due to the space kind of being changed from Nike's hands. So it is a constant battle, but the short side of it, there's no immediate sort of change. I spoke to the guys yesterday about Thursday, whether the option to go 1 hour later to have the free gym for the second hour, so 7 to 9 is better. So there are kind of little leeways here and there if it works better for some people or not. We'll constantly have that kind of feedback, and that's part of what we want for this year for you guys as well, is to go like, all right, if something opens up, like a different time slot on a Saturday or something like that, that we can have instead of one of the classes, if that works for people. But as I said, it is quite hard to get access to that space, but we are always trying to get as much access as we can, and we're a bit closer to the new CEO of Gymnastics Victoria, so hopefully that relationship can improve for us.
He actually trains with us, if you guys have ever met him, but he
guys have been in the
decided to
morning.
start training with us, so that's sort of saying something.
So if you're in the morning, say hi. Don't say anything bad about GB, just say nice things. So that relationship is getting better, and there are a lot of changes coming up in the space, but for the short term, it'll pretty much be those 4 sessions, with maybe some flexibility to move that Thursday.
What is the schedule?
Monday, 8 to 10, well,
Okay.
7:45 to 9:45, yep. Wednesday, 8 to 10. Thursday at the moment is 6 to 8, with potentially go 7 to 9 if that's better for people. And then Friday night, 8 to 10. So they are quite late nights, but unfortunately, with how much the elite guys have to train, the gym's chockers until 8 o'clock most nights. And the Saturdays are booked out for events mostly. We were trying to fight to get Thursday for us completely free, and maybe a weekend slot, but yeah, at the moment there's nothing that's intermediate going to happen. So.
Just,
that's
I
okay.
don't want to speak for everyone because cost of living,
Yeah.
but I think for me, like I think the increase is reasonable because I mean the facilities there are outstanding, and I think the coaching that you guys provide, whether it's here at Windsor, is really high quality. And then the other thing I would say is that I love training with Peak. It's been many years now, and we want it to be sustainable. Because then, if you're not, then well, they won't be any big.
In no way, in no way, again, not speaking for everyone, but in no way, like for example, you could go to a crappy casual, any kind of fitness class anywhere, for like someone who did a whatever week course, and that was still like 30, 35 bucks. So it's a casual rate for any fitness class. Like for any kind of specialized facility and like actual coaching, I don't think anyone would think that, oh, we're getting ripped off for anything. I'll just feel like you guys know that.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. Yeah, and like as always, we're trying to, like we know we kind of dropped the ball in kind of like giving access to information about you guys in comp series, so we're really trying to step up for that as well. And obviously we kind of got that extra hours kind of the start of last year and trying to budget for that. We're always trying to give you guys, like as soon as we've got access to more hours and more coaches, we're trying to push that through. We're pretty happy that we can kind of keep those hours and keep those 2 coaches on for those Thursday nights. So hopefully as more information goes and we get access to more comps and build up, hopefully that kind of product can keep staying high quality and keep giving you guys that value, because we can see the effort that you guys are putting in for those sessions. So we want to kind of match that for you guys as well.
The other thing I want to acknowledge is that we've been painfully aware for a long time as to the unstructured nature and the like occasionally messiness of the way, or the inconsistency of experience for people going to Windsor. And like we've been working on this for a long time to try and structure that up better and figure that out, because it's like I said, there's such varying ability levels, such varying commitment levels or hours of availability to train, that it's meant that we have to come up with this whole spider web of system to be able to capture everyone and allow for them to get the benefit of their training. And so there are structures in place that we're going to be making sure are enforced a bit better to ensure that everyone gets the attention they need. But although that's been developed for a little while, implementing is always a challenging thing. And so we've been trialing some things, and we're hopeful that it'll stick and it'll work really well. But whenever I get a complaint, it really hurts me, because a lot of them I already know are a problem, and we're always working to try and make it better. But we do want that feedback. So if you do feel that you're not getting the attention you need, or you feel like there's a better way for us to do things, we do want to hear it. But we always want to make that better for you as well. So don't feel that we're just like, oh, this is the price point, take what you get. Like we're perennially revising things. And for those who were here all of last year, you would have seen how many changes we made just in Balaclava. Some of them bad, some of them good. But it's led us to where we're at now, where we can have this whole system talk to each other and be able to, you know, have good congruency through the whole training pathway. And so we don't regret what we did last year. We could have done it smoother and communicated it better to you guys, but we've learned from that, and hence why we're having this information night, because we want to be able to have you guys help shape your training as well. So yeah, I think that's probably everything on my list. If anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free, or provide feedback. Do we want to get a little bit of a straw poll on flex on Tuesday mornings? Would anyone attend a flex class on Tuesday morning?
So we want to try to get another flex session in there. Obviously, with how people work, it's going to be quite difficult. So we're looking at the moment, it's Thursday at 8. So if you start work at 9, it's quite difficult. So we're looking at either doing a Tuesday morning earlier at 7, or we know a lot of people are kind of in the industry of that wear out fitness, having maybe instead of taking one of those mornings, having an option to do a midday class. So have a think about that. Maybe let us know if you've got options now, whether an early 7 a.m. flex or a midday kind of flex plus some skill work would be better. If we said which one would work better for kind of the crew here?
Midday.
Midday. Oh, that would be good. Midday. Early. That was the other option.
Was that the Garden Vale times? We had 6:30 back in the day, and I think you were the only one who turned up.
You can run it, Chris.
Yeah. So we're going to start to post more kind of things like that. The stuff that we want to implement, obviously try to get another flex class without taking away another class. Another option was on the Wednesday night or Thursday night to have it a bit as the first class and push the other ones back. But that means strength would be quite late at night, so that might be not very convenient either. So we'll kind of send out some options. If it works, if it's not any different to any of you and it doesn't affect you, we probably won't make a change because there's a lot of effort to make an admin change that won't affect anyone. But if you go, I can get to a midday class once a week, or 7 a.m, I can do it before work, which is going to help, then we do want to try to help you guys, because we know flex is probably important for a lot of you, but it might get neglected due to laziness or due to availability. So
we used the flex classes as the last session of place numbers. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because we were warm and it was one to...
Yeah. So that's the Tuesday Arvo as the last class. Yeah, just depending on availability. So we'll send out some options, but have a think if that would suit anyone.
No other questions, feedback?
Yeah, any feedback, open to it. You can say it later
Publicly,
privately if you want.
wait.
If you don't want to say it publicly.
Where do we find the skill sequence kind of...
Okay. So we sent that out to the direct debit members a couple of weeks ago.
Only the performance one.
Yeah, but we can definitely... no, it was everyone.
Did you send that one out to everyone?
Yeah. But I haven't been putting it out weekly.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so it may have been a month ago or so. But we'll definitely circulate that again. Because we wanted to be able to explain how it works before just circulating it widely, because if you have no idea how the pieces fit together, then it's not, you're just going to look at it and go, oh, well, I'll just keep going on my way and doing what I do. But
we'll print it out and get the sequences up here and stuff as well, laminate them. We've got the laminated ones at Windsor that people looked at once and don't really look at, but that's okay. Yes?
I was going to ask, is there a way to vote that Thursday's?
The which one, sorry? Yeah, we'll probably put up it in the group to vote which is better for the 7th. You're talking about the Windsor class?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably put that up this week or next week. I kind of shared it to the group yesterday to have a think. And then, yeah, it'll give us a free hour for that 8 to 9 hour as well, rather than being shared. If that makes sense for those of you here.
Are you doing that competition
so
Competition Leos?
yes, to order them.
Yeah.
Yes, so we may have a buyback scheme for some who aren't competing anymore, but we'll get that sorted, because we always leave it way too late. So if and then they're not cheap, it sucks, but they are incredible. We don't like getting cheap stuff because it is cheap, but they are beautiful. So the boys are much cheaper. So Chris, if you want to compete, maybe we'll get you on board. But yeah, I think the girls are around $300. But yeah, it's they're nice. So definitely we've got it all. Sarah's thankfully writing up all the things that we need, and we'll get that done for you guys. I think it's normally about $80 an entry fee, and then maybe
depends on the venue, but around between sort of 60 to 80 for the entry fee.
We will likely add a little bit more, like about $10, because no. So like we did toy with the idea of having like a competition membership or something, and it would just get way too messy. So you can just like you don't have to do all 4 of those comps. You just do one. We'll just say we need the entry fees by this date. If you do that, there'll be nothing further added onto your direct debit or anything like that. It's all just pay as you go sort of thing.
Good after parties as well.
On that, so we should be like submitting our fees for like especially the hand packs competition. Usually there's a fee to actually like just be in a hand pack situation, and then an additional fee for gymnastics.
Okay.
It's usually really expensive.
That seems logical. Yeah.
And like the fee to be like part of hand packs is like usually $100 and something.
Yeah.
And then the gymnastics fee is $60. Do we sign up ourselves as a hand pack first?
We will look into that.
Yeah.
We got cool perks last year, like right.
Yeah, for the interstate, because we plan on doing one interstate comp a year, and the Pan Packs are a better. Well, they seem to be in a nicer venue, a better experience than the Australian Masters. So when they're on, which they are biannual, every second year, is that biannual? We try and go to that. So that's this year. They're obviously more expensive. So the Australian Masters and this are a little bit more expensive. Obviously, you've got to cover your travel requirements and things like that. It's not compulsory, but it is a hell of a lot of fun going and competing in another state. And we'd even encourage, like, we always want to support a base there as well, because it's so much fun just getting around the team, and then we all go out for dinner afterwards, and then whatever else after that. But it's a really good experience if you get the opportunity. Anything else to add to our whiteboard? Wonderful. Thank you for making the effort to actually come. We really appreciate it. It's and we hope that you're enjoying your training with us, and we always want the feedback. Even though it hurts me, I do want to make things better. So yeah, definitely email me, just martin@peakgymnastics.com.au, or just talk to one of your coaches if you ever need anything further. But we want to do the best by you. Have a good Friday night, guys, and hopefully see most of you for strength tomorrow, given that you didn't get to do it tonight.